Hey guys, I'm gonna be doing a how-to video tonight. I had to do almost a 75% water change on my community tank this morning. The water had turned really murky and almost like milky, and I had asked one of my friends, in Africa if he knew why maybe it was doing that, and he said it looked like to him that there could be too much protein in the water. And the more and more I thought about it, he was right, because I feed a lot of protein to my pletties because they breed freely, and protein is necessary for breeding for any animal. Um, and I also feed my lizards in there crickets. And sometimes crickets will fall into the water and drown, and then they go like under that big rock, and I can't get to them. So they kind of just sit in the water and essentially rot in the water. Um, so my solution for this is something I've done in the past, and it has worked really well. Um, except for crested geckos, because when I did this for my geckos, well, I'll explain after I show you what I'm doing. So here I have a Tropicana container. And I already used this knife to start a cut here. It's a triangle cut, so my scissors fit in there pretty good, and I can cut, and I'm just going to cut out this Tropicana label. Um, and I'm going to have it like this. Most people turn it like this, and they'll hang it like this. What it is it's a cricket feeder. You put your crickets in here, and they can't get out, but the lizards can get in and out freely. You take this mesh here, or you can use cardboard. I've even seen people just tape paper towel to it, and then they'll change to paper towel as needed. But I like to have this this metal mesh because it's a lot more sturdy, and I don't have to worry too much about it, like molding or anything like that. But what you do is you stick it on the back of your container. And like I said, most people have them like this, but I like to turn them like this because then you have a spot for a mealworm tray, especially for like chameleons, because chameleons don't like to go to the floor to get their food. And I'll actually show you my chameleons feeder some other time. And it's just, and then when your crickets are in here, if they go to the bathroom, it falls down into the lid. Or if any of them die, they fall to the bottom, and then instead of taking the entire container out, then you just twist off the lid and you clean out the lid. But yeah, I think I might hang it from the top of the cage, or I might get a suction cup and section it to the back. I haven't decided yet, but if I'll show you either way. What I'll do is I'll take probably my knife and cut a slit back here and a slit up here and run a wire through it, or in this case a piece of plastic lashing, and that way I can either hang it, or if I do the suction cup, I'll just put the slit back here and not up here, and the suction cup, the little knob on the end of it should fit into the slot, and I can super glue it, or not super glue it, hot glue it to it, and to make sure that it stays. So I'm going to start this. Yeah, I'll put my camera somewhere. Let me grab my tripod real quick. Okay. I will And I can't flip the camera. Okay. I don't know if it's just my phone update or what, but the camera for filming on YouTube has gotten a lot different, and I don't think I like it because I can't pause and do all this. And that way you guys will go woo all the time. So I hope this captures everything. We'll see at the end. But anyway, so you have your jug. And I know you can see kind of right here, so I'm going to take my jug. And I already started cutting, and then I was like, oh, I should do a how-to about this, so here we go. And I'm just going to cut around this label here. And then get my mesh cut to size and situated inside. And I'm also going to take hot glue and go around this edge here. Some people sand it, but even then I still feel like it's too sharp, and that it could possibly injure your reptile. So I just put either tape, like duct tape, or hot glue, a bead of hot glue around the edge. Really make sure this is cut. I think I'll just try to peel off the rest of this label. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm a little OCD, so. Like on my chameleons, then I've taken fake plants and glued them to their sides so it looks nice and pretty and green. But I'm not going to do that with this one, just because it's so big. And it's pretty clear, but my chameleons is a Sunny D container, so it's cloudy looking. Can't really see through it. But this one you can see through. And you can really use any kind of bottle. I wouldn't recommend like a plastic water bottle, or even, well, actually that's pretty thick. Like the plastic bottles, water bottles I wouldn't use, just because they're pretty flimsy. But anything like a Sunny B container, or a small milk jug, or even a big milk jug, if you have a bigger lizard, you can always upscale or downscale. I was going to use this bottle, but I thought it was a little too small, and if my basilisk Dini got halfway in there, I feel like she might not be able to get out completely, and she might freak out, so I'm using this bigger one. And for this bigger one, I know that if anybody gets in here, they can always get back out. So we've got that. Let me take this off so I don't get it stuck. And I have this mesh. This is just a piece of screen mesh. You can get a whole, like, 4-foot roll of it at Walmart. And this is just a piece that I had from a previous project. And you can take it and cover the entire back of it. But what I like to do is stay like about a ½ inch within this side, just in case somebody gets here and maybe jumps out. Then I don't want that. So this is how I do it. Actually, I use this as a template. And I'm just cutting around this. And I'll actually take it all the way to the bottom, so if any of the crickets fall completely to the bottom, then instead of suffocating and dying in the bottom, then if they are able to, they can crawl back out. this doesn't have to be perfect by any means. But like I said, I'm a little OCD, so. And you might not want to do this on your bed like I'm doing, because I'm getting a little wire shavings in my bed. I didn't think about that, but I'll get them out later. So I have this, and like I said, I want it to go pretty much all the way to the bottom. So you might want to wear gloves doing this, like some leather gloves or even some yellow kitchen gloves, because this stuff is pretty sharp. Working with it, I've gotten stuck pretty bad a couple times using this stuff before, but whenever I use it, I always bead hot glue around it so it's not going to hurt your reptiles. So here we have this, and it pretty well goes all the way, well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And I've had my hot glue on for a little while, so it should be good for now. And what you can do is start from the bottom and go up. And I actually have a chopstick that'll sit in here so I can pat stuff down that I couldn't normally reach to. And I just have a standard little hot glue gun. This is actually a roll of hot glue you can get at Hobby Lobby, and that's what I use. My cat has come to see what I am doing. And I kind of just squirt and let it fall where it wants. Katie, can you close my door? So now I'm just pressing it down so the hot glue catches it pretty good. And I'm going to hold it pretty much until it's dry. About a minute, minute and a half. And I might make another video of it just because, but I have like water dishes that can hang from the side of your enclosure. So if you have geckos don't really like to go to the floor and drink. They like to be up high. Most of the time they'll just drink off of leaves and things like that. So I have hanging water dishes for them. And there's one that I actually made. The other two are just store-bought, but you can make them pretty easy, and you can actually make them look really nice. So I might do a video on that. So I have this pretty secure. It doesn't look like I need to put more hot glue on it, but I'm going to go ahead and glue the entire back of it down so crickets can't get behind it. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to glue straight through the mesh instead of putting the glue on the plastic. And then that way it'll just leak through the mesh onto the plastic. And the crickets will still be able to grip onto this hot glue, so there's no worry about that. I have a bit of plastic right here that I'm sitting this on, so it's not gonna... Actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and put it back where it was. Just to make sure I don't catch my bed on fire. I'm going to kind of spread this around with my chopstick here, just to make sure that it gets through the mesh pretty good. And you can, I've done it in the past, just gone around the edge of the mesh and put a bead of glue and do it that way. But what I found in the past is that some of the glue isn't going to stick really well, and the crickets will actually get behind it, so then your animal ends up trying to get a cricket, and it's behind the mesh, and they can't get to it. With the chameleon, it's a little funny, but it's also kind of mean. Ow. Yeah, this plastic's pretty sharp, so I'm definitely going to put a bead of glue around it. Get some of the glue off of my stick here. And you can use a popsicle stick, or you can use your hands, but I wouldn't recommend that because it is hot glue. And I'm just going to do the same down the rest of the mesh here. I'll go back later and pull out on any little stringy bits or anything like that. I'm probably going to have to use more glue on this neck bit here, because it's kind of an odd shape. That's what I like about mesh too, is that it'll form to pretty much any shape you need it to. So if you use like an odd shaped bottle like I am, it's got a lot of weird curves and angles, then your mesh will fit to that. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put 2 more rows of glue there, just to be extra sure that doesn't pop up. So now I'm just smearing the glue and pressing it down into the plastic to make sure that it sticks good. I'm going to put a little more glue around here because these edges are trying to stick up. And I don't want any crickets getting behind it, because like I said, then your animal thinks that you have crickets in there for him, and then they're not. Then they get kind of frustrated because they can't get to him. And this setup actually works for bearded dragons too. On a bearded dragon though, what I'd typically do is, instead of cutting on a flat face, I'd cut along one of the corners edges, if it's a plastic, a square bottle. And with bearded dragons, I almost recommend a square bottle, and make it kind of like a little cubby hole, and so they can stick their head in, but the crickets again can't jump out. With circle bottles or circular bottles, or bottle-shaped bottles, really, then it's a little hard, because then you can't set it down in the enclosure or when you're going to feed them. Another good feeding method for a bearded dragon is, we have a Rubbermaid plastic tub, and it's about 4 inches tall, and he can actually climb in it and climb out of it by himself. And it's pretty long. It's about this long. And we actually have a basking rock for him in one of the corners, and we'll put his food in that, even his crickets and things like that, because the crickets can't jump out, and then that container doesn't get sand in it, because when he climbs in, he'll scrape his belly on the edge, and all the sand will get knocked off. So there is your mesh in your, that's what it's going to look like. And you want a container that's big enough to give you at least 1 inch away from your opening, as far from your opening to your mesh, and this is about 4 inches. So there's really no way that the crickets are going to be able to jump out. I'm sure a couple of them will figure out how to escape, but majority of them will be stuck in here. And then you just put your cap back on, and so if it gets dirty and crickets die and fall to the bottom, you just unscrew the cap. You can throw the stuff in the cap away, and your bottle stays nice and clean. So there's that. I may actually use my hot glue gun to push holes in the back of the bottle for the hanging stuff. I'm just putting, you can't see, I'm just putting a bead of glue along this edge so there's no sharp edges that your animal can get stuck on. And this feeder is pretty much universal, because I would use it when I had my sugar gliders. I would have made one of these for them and put little treats and snacks and stuff like in it. You can use it as a bird feeder. Some birds eat crickets and things like that. Any animal really, except for like hamsters and maybe rats. But like amphibians can even use this. I had frogs and they used one of these. The only problem, oh that's right, the problem I had with this for geckos is my gecko would go inside and she'd actually hide in it. And that's not something you want, because they can't get out very well. So I wouldn't recommend this for crested geckos or any other kind of gecko, just because they're going to want to hide in it. Now if you want to get one and make it a hide, I'd probably put it on its side and paint the outside of it. And then they can come in and out as they want. But other than for a feeder, I don't think I'd use it again, just because they get into them and they're kind of hard to get out of the feeders. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm just leaving a real thin bead of hot glue on that sharp edge. And so this will make sure that I don't end up with any cuts or abrasions for me when I go to clean it, or for my animals. I actually did I guess you could say, well, it wasn't really a water change because I ended up putting the water back in it, but I did a cleaning on my fish tank, and I just used a net to scoop out all the dirt that had fallen into the water, because it didn't look nice. I mean, it wasn't hurting the water or anything, but it was releasing a lot of tannins, and it didn't look pretty. Anyway, and I counted my fish too. I went ahead and removed the fish before I started cleaning it, just so I didn't accidentally scoop up any baby fish or anything like that, and essentially throw them away. So I did a count, and I currently have 20 snails, and I'm actually going to greatly reduce that number this weekend, because they're starting to breed with each other, which wouldn't bother me, but I already have 20 snails, and I have 2 batches of eggs already that are incubating, and I don't really need any more snails. So what I'm going to do is trade them back to my pet store, D's, and I'll get crickets for them. Be looking in the next few weeks. D's is actually remodeling or renovating their store. They're moving a lot of stuff around and getting in new equipment and things like that. And I've gotten permission from her to film in her store once they get everything done. So you guys are going to be able to see all the really cool fish and reptiles and rodents and birds and things that they have there, which I'm pretty excited about. So I have this. I have that bead of glue all the way around. There's no sharp edges at all. Like I said, some people sand it, but even sanded, I feel like it's still too sharp. So I put this bead of glue, or I'll use like a thin strip of duct tape, or just any tape really, but duct tape works the best. It lasts long. But yeah, So now I'm going to use the hot metal tip of my glue gun and I'm going to press it to here. And if that doesn't work, because depending on the type of plastic, sometimes it doesn't work, I may poke a hole with my knife and just round out the edges of the glue gun. But we'll see. And you got to be kind of careful, because if you have a round bottle, then you can easily slide your gun and end up burning yourself. So you got to be careful. And I am pressing pretty hard, and I don't think it's wanting to go through. Yeah, this plastic's too hard, so what I'm going to do is poke a hole, and then the plastic should melt a little bit. I'm going to set this down. I don't want to cut myself. There we go. If you're a child watching this, never use a knife by yourself, or even big scissors like I've been using. Adult supervision is probably needed for something like this if you're a little younger. And like I said, there's probably some safety materials that I should be using, but I'm not. There we go. And I'm just going to twist it around a little bit, make sure it gets pretty well melted. And there we have a pretty good hole. And there's, ooh, don't touch it. There's glue around it from the tip of my gun, so it's not going to be sharp or anything like that. And I think I'm going to use a suction cup. I just have to go find it. Oh, no, I don't. I have a bunch of them put away. Never mind. Let me go grab those real quick. And then once I get the suction cup on, we will add it to our enclosure. Here I have a small Pringles can, and I keep little cups and things like that for my geckos in it. And I also keep an abundance of different kinds of suction cups. And I think we're going to be using this one with the little metal bit. No, we're not. So they put a hole. So I'll be using this. And I will show you how to do that. So we have our pretty much circle hole here. It looks like our hole needs to be just a bit bigger. Actually, I may not even need glue. Nope, I need to make that hole just a bit bigger. If you don't have a hot glue gun to do something like this, you can cut an X with your knife in there, and it should lock in your suction cup pretty good, as long as you don't make the X too large. Maybe since I may have to do the X anyway. Yeah, I'm going to have to do the X anyway. That might be big enough now. Yeah, there we go. Now I have a nice tight fit. But just to be safe, actually, no, I'm not going to do that, because last time I did that. You can just put glue in the end of your suction cup here and just press it straight to the thing, but in the past I had problems where it actually warped the suction cup because it's so hot. I don't know, I might take the back, let me see if I can get this back label off. And I'm probably going to find a pretty, a spot that's pretty far away from any lights. Yeah, no, that's going to leave sticky stuff, so I'm just going to leave that on. And I think I have a pretty good spot on where I'm going to put it. The only thing is the spot that is looking pretty good to put it is also where my animals like to congregate a lot. So I won't be able to see them, so I may actually put it on the other side. I think we're going to put it on the right side of the tank, and I'll move those foliage to the other side. Yeah, or maybe on top of this. I don't know, we'll see. Sorry about that. Jeez. So here's my tank. Let me turn the fan off. Over here is actually my blue snail eggs, and I think those others are these guys, these black snails. Here, let me grab this container. The fish are going to think I'm feeding them every time I turn that light off. They get excited. Here's my green anemone. And I have a section cut here to hold these plants up. And then I'll put those on the other side. But I'll probably do that after I get this set up. What will probably end up happening is some of my anoles will end up sleeping on top of this, which is totally fine. So there is that. And I think I'm just going to do like I said and take this and just slide it on top like that. And I'm going to close this real quick. I'm going to go grab a tube of crickets and I'll put them in there and show you guys how it works. Alright, I got my tube of crickets. And you pretty much just that it? Oh, I think I'm gonna go grab another. There wasn't too many in there. If you can see, they're crawling up the jug now. Alright, I'll toss this other tube in, turn the light on so you guys can get a better look at it. And then I'll probably end this video for now. It's pretty long. I'm sorry about the length. Like I said, YouTube changed their recording stuff. There wasn't very many of that either. So I couldn't pause it, do what I wanted to do, and then start it back up again. So there is our cricket container, our reptile feeder. If anybody has any questions about this or ideas even, let me know, and I will get back a hold of you.